I want you to imagine for a moment. You wake up one morning and the world feels different. Not because something outside has changed, but because something within you has. You feel a quiet certainty that today, you're no longer drifting. You know where you're going. You've discovered what every millionaire, every success story, every great builder of dreams has known all along. That success doesn't begin in the bank account, but in the mind. Earl Nightingale once said, "We become what we think about." And those 7 words hold the power to turn an ordinary life into an extraordinary one. Most people spend their lives reacting to bills, to circumstances, to luck, to fear. But those who rise above the average learn a secret so simple. It hides in plain sight. They take control of their thoughts. They don't let the weather decide their mood or chance decide their destiny. They plant the seed of a clear goal in their mind, water it with belief, and guard it from the weeds of doubt. They know that the mind, like fertile soil, will grow whatever is planted, success or failure, abundance or scarcity. Every millionaire you admire began with a picture in their mind that no one else could see. They held that image so firmly, so faithfully, that the world eventually had no choice but to make it real. While others talked about what they couldn't do, they quietly worked on what they would do. They used Earl Nightingale's formula. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Not luck, not inheritance, not shortcuts, but the steady march toward a goal that gives meaning to their life. You see, the difference between the average man and the millionaire isn't intelligence or opportunity. It's direction. The average man wakes up each day wondering what might happen. The millionaire wakes up each day deciding what will happen. One drifts, the other steers. One fears the waves, the other learns to ride them. And the moment you decide to think like a millionaire, not wish, but decide, your course begins to change. There is a mysterious power within each human being, a quiet force that determines who we become, what we achieve, and how far we go in life. Most people go through their days unaware of it, thinking that success or failure is written in the stars, or decided by luck, or handed down by those in power. But nothing could be further from the truth. The truth is far simpler and infinitely more powerful. Everything you will ever have, everything you will ever become, begins in the invisible workshop of your own mind. The secret that transforms an ordinary individual into a millionaire, an achiever, or a leader isn't found in business schools or in secret clubs. It lies in the daily discipline of thought. The way you think, the way you speak to yourself, and the image you hold of your future determines the quality of your life far more than any external circumstance ever could. When you look at those who have achieved great success, you may be tempted to believe that they possess some rare quality, something you weren't born with, an unusual talent, a special connection, or a stroke of fortune that opened the right doors. But if you were to step behind the curtain of their achievements, you would find something entirely different. You would find a mind that has been trained to see opportunities instead of obstacles, a spirit that has learned to persist when others give up, and a conviction so deep that it becomes reality itself. The world, after all, is a mirror. It reflects what we continually think and feel about ourselves. If we think small, our world will shrink to fit that thought. If we think boldly, the world will expand to match our vision. Consider for a moment the farmer who plants a seed in the soil. He does not question whether the soil will do its work. He trusts the process. He understands that the earth, by its very nature, will return what is planted, but multiplied. If he plants wheat, he will not harvest weeds. And yet most people plant thoughts of fear, doubt, and limitation, then wonder why their lives are filled with anxiety and failure. The law of the mind works as surely as the law of gravity. What you sow in thought, you reap in reality. The difference between the one who lives in frustration and the one who rises to prosperity is not chance. It is what they have chosen to plant and nurture in the garden of their mind. There is no secret formula that guarantees wealth overnight, but there is a principle that guarantees direction. Every person who has ever achieved something meaningful began with a clear mental picture. They knew long before it appeared what they wanted. They could see it, feel it, and believe it when no one else could. Their mind became like a magnet drawing ideas, people, and circumstances toward that vision. They worked hard, yes, but their work was guided by purpose. It had a direction. The one without a goal, no matter how hard he works, moves in circles. The one with a goal, even if he moves slowly, moves forward. Life responds to clarity. The mind that knows what it wants is like a compass. It points unwaveringly toward its destination. Those who live without that inner compass drift aimlessly, at the mercy of every wind and current. But those who have learned to harness the power of a definite aim move with quiet confidence. Their path may not always be easy, but it is certain. They are guided by an inner law that says, you become what you think about. Every thought sets a course, every belief builds a foundation. The greatest limitation any person faces is the belief that they are limited. Once that belief is dissolved, possibility opens like the morning sun breaking through the fog. The wealth of a man or woman does not begin with money, it begins with understanding. Understanding that the universe is governed by laws, and that one of those laws declares that thoughts are creative. What you hold in your mind, you hold in your hand sooner or later. If you think success, act upon success, and expect success, the world will bend itself to your expectations. If you think defeat, speak of defeat, and anticipate loss, then you have already chosen your outcome. You are never a victim of circumstance, you are a creator of it. The circumstances of today are the direct result of the thoughts of yesterday, and the thoughts you are nurturing right now are shaping the circumstances of tomorrow. To awaken to this truth is to awaken to power. It means you no longer drift through life waiting for opportunities. You begin to create them. It means that you stop blaming luck, economy, or environment and start building the inner world that shapes the outer one. It means realizing that success is not a gift. It's a direction, a decision, a daily act of discipline and belief. Once a person truly understands this, life changes in ways that others call miraculous. But it is not a miracle. It is simply law. And the one who learns to work with this law, to think clearly, to hold their goal firmly, and to act consistently, steps into a realm where success is no longer a question of if, but only of when. Most people live their entire lives as if they were passengers on a ship that has lost its rudder, drifting wherever the wind happens to blow, reacting to each wave that rises in their path. They work hard, they worry constantly, and yet they never arrive at a definite port, because they have never truly decided where they want to go. They rise each morning to routines that have long lost meaning, and they wonder quietly why nothing ever changes. The reason is not fate, not misfortune, and not lack of ability. It is simply lack of direction. The human mind is an engine of unimaginable power, but without a destination to drive toward, it idles in place, burning its own fuel until the tank is empty. There are two kinds of people in the world: those who are acted upon by life, and those who act upon it. The first kind moves according to external forces, economy, weather, politics, circumstance. The second kind moves according to internal vision, a goal so vivid it becomes more real to them than their surroundings. The first says, I'll do my best with whatever comes. The second says, I will shape what comes into what I desire. The moment you choose to become the second kind, your life begins to move with purpose. That decision alone is the turning point of every great success story ever written. You see, most people have been conditioned to believe that life is something that happens to them. They wait for the right time, the right opportunity, the right encouragement. But those who achieve great things understand that waiting is another name for wasting. They don't wait for perfect conditions. They create them. They know that there will never be a moment when all the lights turn green before they begin their journey. The path becomes clear because they start moving. And the more they move with direction, the more the world bends itself to make way for them. There is a law as certain as gravity, that thoughts held in the mind and acted upon with faith will produce results consistent with those thoughts. The individual who thinks constantly about success, progress, and growth will be drawn toward situations and people that make those things possible. The one who thinks of fear, limitation, and defeat will find endless proof of those ideas in daily life. The mind, like a magnet, cannot help but attract that which it most strongly believes. And that is why direction is so powerful. When your mind is fixed on a definite goal, your subconscious begins to gather everything necessary to make it happen. You start to notice opportunities that were invisible before. You meet people who seem to appear by coincidence, and you feel a quiet guidance steering you forward. It is not magic, it is focus. The tragedy of most lives is not that people aim too high and miss, but that they aim too low and hit. The average person spends more time planning a vacation than planning their own life. They can describe the route to a destination 100 miles away, but have never charted the course for their own future. Without a clear aim, even the greatest talents remain dormant. But when a person knows what they want, when their heart and mind are unified in purpose, the smallest effort begins to multiply. Each action gains momentum, each failure becomes a lesson, and each day adds power to their progress. Think of the mind as a powerful camera lens. Whatever you focus it on expands in detail and clarity. Focus it on problems and you'll see nothing but barriers. Focus it on goals, and you'll begin to see possibilities that others overlook. Your life moves in the direction of your dominant thoughts. The person who believes that success is possible begins to notice signs of it everywhere. The person who believes life is unfair gathers evidence to support that belief daily. This is why the power of choice is the most extraordinary gift we possess. The choice to decide what we will think about, what we will believe, and what we will expect. Every great achievement begins with a single thought that is held long enough and strong enough to take form. The person who becomes wealthy first imagines a life of abundance. The person who becomes a leader first imagines a life of influence. The person who creates something lasting first sees it clearly in the theater of their mind. The mind cannot distinguish between what is vividly imagined and what is physically experienced. It begins to build toward whatever picture it is given. That picture becomes a blueprint, and the outer world simply follows the design. So few people ever rise to their potential because they spend their mental energy scattered, worrying about things they cannot control, envying those who succeed, or doubting their own worth. But the one who learns to guard his thoughts as the most valuable possession he owns, who feeds his mind with belief and fills his imagination with vision, becomes unstoppable. He may face obstacles, but he will not be overcome by them. He may fail temporarily, but failure becomes part of his instruction, not his identity. He understands that the power to create, to change, and to rise lies not in external fortune, but in the steady discipline of internal focus. And when a person finally awakens to that truth, the fog begins to lift. The world no longer feels like a chaotic place ruled by chance. It becomes an ordered field responding to thought, responding to purpose, responding to the quiet conviction of a mind that has finally decided where it wants to go. From that moment on, everything begins to change. Not instantly, but inevitably, because the one who knows where they are going has already traveled half the distance. Every great success story begins long before the world ever hears of it. It begins in silence, in the stillness of thought, in the mind of a single individual who dares to see what others cannot. Before the business is built, before the invention is created, before the fortune is earned, there is always an invisible image formed in the imagination. That image, nurtured with persistence and belief, becomes the seed of every achievement. Nothing of lasting value has ever been created without it. Every millionaire, every innovator, every builder of dreams has first lived their success internally. They have walked its halls, counted its blessings, and felt its reality within their mind long before a single brick was laid. It is not the size of the dream that matters, but the depth of belief in it. The dreamer who believes with conviction already possesses the wealth of the future, for belief is the currency that buys reality. The world has a strange way of bending itself to those who refuse to doubt. They hold their vision with such intensity that it begins to pull circumstances into alignment. They don't force opportunity, they attract it. They don't chase success. They become the kind of person success naturally seeks. There is an unseen law that operates unfailingly like attracts like. The person who thinks in terms of prosperity, growth, and progress cannot help but draw those very things into their life. Picture for a moment a sculptor standing before a block of marble. To the untrained eye, it's nothing more than a lifeless stone. But to the sculptor, within that stone already lives the masterpiece. Every stroke of the chisel is guided by an image only he can see. The marble does not resist, it simply reveals what has always been there. So it is with the human mind. Each thought, each belief, each act of faith carves away the excess of doubt and limitation until the vision within begins to emerge. The person who knows where they are going and believes they will arrive is already halfway there. It is astonishing how many people spend their lives talking about what they don't want. They speak of fear, of lack, of failure, and then wonder why these very things seem to multiply. The mind is a creative instrument. It cannot distinguish between what you fear and what you desire. It simply acts upon what you continually hold before it. That is why successful people discipline their thoughts with precision. They guard them as they would guard treasure, because they understand that what is impressed upon the mind will, sooner or later, be expressed in the world. The one who envisions a goal with clarity begins to feel a strange energy rising within. Obstacles that once seemed immovable begin to shrink. Ideas appear where none existed. Doors that were closed begin to open. What others call coincidence is often the natural result of consistent, focused thought. The mind, when united with belief, sets forces in motion that reach far beyond our understanding. The world is full of people who wish for change, but only a few who decide on change. And that decision, coupled with faith, is what ignites movement. There is a quiet confidence in those who have a definite purpose. You can see it in the way they walk, the way they speak, the way they look at the future. They are not hurried, for they understand that progress is certain. They are not discouraged by setbacks, for they see them as part of the refining process. Just as gold is purified by fire, faith is strengthened by trial. Every great achiever has faced rejection, doubt, and failure. But instead of turning away, they used those experiences as instruction. They learned from every disappointment, and in doing so, became stronger, wiser, and more determined. When you hold a clear image of your goal and nurture it with unwavering belief, you become magnetic. You begin to attract the ideas, the people, and the conditions necessary to make that image real. The person who doubts and wavers sends a confused signal to the world, and the world reflects that confusion. But the one who believes, who moves with quiet assurance, sends a signal that is pure, and the response is equally certain. The outer world always responds to the inner one. Change what happens within, and what happens without must change as well. Every great fortune, every innovation, every advancement of civilization began with one mind daring to imagine something more. The airplane, the light bulb, the skyscraper, the computer, all were first thoughts, fragile and unseen, born in the privacy of an individual consciousness. If such wonders could emerge from human thought, then what might your own mind be capable of creating if you gave it a definite picture, a clear purpose, and a steady belief? The power that shaped those great achievements is the same power that resides in you right now. It has never weakened. It has never disappeared. It simply waits for direction. Success in its purest form is not luck or inheritance. It is the progressive unfolding of a vision that was first believed in long before it was seen. To live by this principle is to live with intention, to understand that you are not a product of circumstance, but a designer of it. When you hold to your vision with faith, act upon it daily, and refuse to give up regardless of appearances, life itself begins to organize around your purpose. The invisible becomes visible, the imagined becomes real, and the dream becomes destiny. There comes a point in every person's life when they must decide whether they will steer their own ship or continue drifting upon the tides of chance. It is one of the most important moments in a human lifetime, though most never recognize it when it arrives. For years they move as though asleep, going to work, paying bills, following routines, yet never taking hold of the wheel. Then one day they look back and realize the ocean of time has carried them far from the shores of their dreams. The truth is simple yet powerful. Life will not take you where you wish to go unless you first set the course. You cannot reach a destination you have not chosen. Those who succeed are those who learn to command themselves, their thoughts, their actions, and their direction. The difference between the one who drifts and the one who steers is not intelligence, not privilege, not opportunity. It is clarity. One moves aimlessly, waiting for something to happen. The other moves with a definite purpose, knowing that action and persistence shape their world. The drifter complains about the wind. The leader adjusts the sails. One blames the storm, the other learns to navigate through it. When you look at the truly successful, you will see people who have learned that control begins within. They no longer surrender their emotions to circumstance or their goals to chance. They understand that life, like the sea, is never still, but that the helm of their mind determines the direction of every wave they face. It is easy to look around and say, I would succeed if only things were different. If the economy were better, if I had support, if luck were on my side. But those who rise above average have stopped using as an excuse. They have replaced it with, ho. They ask not if I can, but how can I? They recognize that the greatest power ever given to human beings is the power of choice. Every morning that power is renewed. You can choose to think positively or negatively. You can choose to plan your day or let it happen to you. You can choose to act with purpose or drift in indecision. Each choice, though small, builds upon the last until it forms the pattern of your destiny. Direction is not found by chance, it is forged by decision. The mind that has decided on a goal sends out signals into every part of life, aligning thoughts, habits, and emotions toward that single aim. It is like setting a compass. No matter how far you drift or how many times you are blown off course, the needle always points north. But the person without direction has no compass at all. Every gust of opinion, every obstacle, every distraction pulls them in a new direction. They waste their energy fighting the currents instead of using them. The individual who knows their purpose doesn't fight the wind. They harness it. There is a quiet dignity in the person who takes responsibility for their own course. They no longer blame circumstance because they have learned that circumstance is a mirror, not a master. What you see in the world is a reflection of what you think, believe, and expect. The one who expects success begins to recognize opportunity even in difficulty. The one who expects failure finds proof of it in every event. Your outer world will always shape itself to fit your inner one. To take control of your life, then, you must first take control of your thinking. No man or woman can steer a ship they refuse to guide. Many people confuse movement with progress. They work tirelessly, running from one task to another. But without direction, all their effort leads them nowhere. Activity without purpose is the illusion of progress. The person who knows where they are going may move slower at times, but every step brings them closer to the goal. Life is not a race, it is a journey. And the value of that journey depends entirely upon whether you know your destination. You could spend your whole life climbing a ladder only to find it was leaning against the wrong wall. That is the tragedy of drifting. Endless effort without fulfillment. To find direction, one must begin by asking a simple question. What do I truly want? Not what others expect, not what society praises, but what stirs the spirit and brings a sense of purpose. Once that question is answered, the mind begins to align. Doubts fade, distractions lose their hold, and life begins to gather momentum. Even the smallest action, when guided by a definite goal, carries far more power than endless motion without aim. The secret of progress lies not in speed but in focus. When you decide where you are going, something remarkable begins to happen. Your senses sharpen, your perception changes, and your energy becomes directed. You begin to wake with intention rather than habit. The world itself seems to cooperate. Not because it has changed, but because you have. You are no longer waiting for the winds to favor you. You are learning to sail regardless of their direction. That shift in attitude transforms struggle into strength and adversity into education. You stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and begin asking, "What can I learn from this?" That single change in perspective is often the moment when success begins. Every person alive has within them the same potential for greatness. But potential is like a locked treasure. It remains hidden until you turn the key of purpose. Once you decide where you want to go and commit to that direction, every cell of your being begins to move toward it. The mind, the emotions, the body, all work in harmony. The journey may be long, but it becomes joyful because it has meaning. And that is the ultimate reward of direction. Not merely reaching a destination, but becoming the kind of person who can reach it again and again. Every person alive is broadcasting a message to the world, whether they realize it or not. That message is formed by their thoughts, their beliefs, and the feelings they nurture day after day. The universe, like a great echo chamber, returns to each of us the signal we send. If our thoughts are filled with fear, limitation, and doubt, we receive back more of the same. If they are filled with confidence, faith, and purpose, life reflects that energy right back to us. You are always communicating with the world, not through words alone, but through the vibration of your mind. And the world listens with perfect accuracy. It does not judge, it does not discriminate, it simply reflects. This is the great secret most never learn, that your dominant thoughts shape your reality, as surely as the sun determines the growth of a tree. Consider how two people can live under the same sky and yet inhabit completely different worlds. One looks around and sees only struggle, unfairness, and scarcity. The other sees opportunity, progress, and abundance. The difference lies not in the world itself, but in the filter of their mind. What you focus upon expands. What you think about most of the time becomes your experience. The person who continually speaks of problems soon finds more of them. The one who continually expects good begins to attract it in countless ways. The law is simple, but its consequences are profound. You will always receive what you are prepared to receive. Nothing more, nothing less. This is why controlling the direction of your thoughts is not merely a pleasant idea, it is a vital necessity. The mind is like a fertile field that never rests. It will grow whatever is planted, weeds or wheat, success or failure, abundance or lack. Every thought is a seed, and the soil of the mind makes no judgment about which ones you choose to sow. It will nurture whatever you feed it with emotion and repetition. Most people, without realizing it, allow fear, envy, and worry to become their daily crop. They water these weeds with attention, and then wonder why their life bears fruit they do not desire. The wise individual learns to plant deliberately thoughts of growth, gratitude, achievement, and peace. These are the seeds that, given time and care, yield a harvest of prosperity and happiness. It is not enough, however, to think positively for a moment and then return to old patterns of doubt. The mind responds to consistency. A single seed will not make a field of wheat. You must cultivate daily the mental attitude you wish to live by. When setbacks come, and they will, it is your mental habit that determines how you respond. The person who has trained their mind to think constructively will look at difficulty and immediately begin searching for the lesson. They ask, "What can I gain from this experience? How can I use this to grow stronger?" The person who has allowed negative thinking to dominate will instead say, "Why does this always happen to me?" The difference between these two questions determines the difference between advancement and stagnation. There is great power in expectation. To expect success is to prepare the mind for it. To expect failure is to guarantee it. Expectation acts as a command to the subconscious, directing it to seek whatever aligns with that belief. When you expect to meet opportunity, you will begin to notice it where others see none. When you expect rejection, you will find it even in friendly faces. The outer world rearranges itself according to the picture held within the inner world. This is not superstition. It is psychology. What you expect colors your perception, and perception determines your behavior. Behaviors in turn shape results. The cycle always begins with thought. The mind is the original broadcasting station. Each thought is like a radio wave sent into the atmosphere of life, and every action, every reaction, every encounter is a reply. The frequency you choose determines the kind of response you receive. A person who constantly transmits fear cannot tune into the frequency of opportunity. A person vibrating with gratitude and faith cannot remain long in the presence of failure. The universe responds with precision to the tone of your thoughts. To change your life, then, you must first change the signal you are sending. There is no power in the world greater than that of disciplined thought. It has built civilizations, cured diseases, created wealth, and shaped the course of history. But the same power, left uncontrolled, has destroyed lives, built prisons of the mind, and turned opportunity into despair. The difference lies in direction. When the mind is harnessed by purpose, it becomes the most powerful creative force known to man. When left to wander aimlessly, it becomes its own worst enemy. You cannot escape the influence of your own thinking. You can only choose whether that influence will build or destroy. So begin to treat your thoughts as sacred, for they are the blueprints of your future. Watch carefully what you allow to occupy your mind. When you find yourself thinking of fear, replace it with faith. When you catch yourself worrying about lack, remind yourself of the abundance that surrounds you. When you are tempted to complain, choose instead to be grateful. These small acts of mental discipline, repeated daily, will transform the landscape of your life. The world responds not to what you wish, but to what you believe. And belief, when held with conviction, becomes the signal that draws success, peace, and fulfillment to your door. Every human being carries within themselves a quiet power so profound that it could transform their entire existence. yet few ever learn to use it. Most walk through life unaware that the key to abundance, joy, and freedom lies not in external forces, but in the thoughts and decisions that originate within their own mind. They wait for opportunities instead of creating them. They envy those who have succeeded instead of asking how they might do the same. They imagine that success is a matter of chance, a lucky break, a fortunate connection, a twist of fate. But the truth is simpler and far more empowering. Success belongs to the one who claims responsibility for it. When you decide that you and you alone are in charge of your destiny, you step into the same stream of power that has carried every achiever, every creator, every builder of dreams to greatness. The world rewards action, not intention. It favors the person who dares to move when others hesitate, who acts when others debate. The difference between those who wish for success and those who experience it lies in decision and persistence. A decision, once made and held with faith, becomes the pivot around which life begins to turn. The moment you decide who you will become, the gears of the universe begin to shift in your favor. It is as if life itself whispers, "Very well, let us begin." But that whisper is heard only by the mind that has chosen its path. The undecided person wanders through life collecting distractions instead of results, fears instead of victories. Decision gives direction, direction gives meaning, meaning gives power. There is an unseen law that operates in the life of every person. What you think about, believe in, and act upon with conviction will come to pass. The law works in both directions. It will serve you or defeat you, depending on how you use it. Those who rise understand this and align themselves with it. They no longer see obstacles as barriers but as stepping stones. They use failure as feedback, pain as instruction, and time as a tool. Each setback to them is simply a reminder that progress is being made. They do not chase ease, they chase growth. They understand that the mind, like a muscle, must be exercised to become strong. Discipline, persistence, and self-belief are the weights by which it is strengthened. The person who succeeds is not the one who avoids struggle, but the one who transforms struggle into strength. Every challenge contains within it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. The difference lies in perception. To the fearful, difficulty is a signal to retreat. To the confident, it is an invitation to expand. Each time you rise to meet adversity, you grow a little larger inside. You begin to realize that your capacity is far greater than you once believed. The walls that seem to contain you are revealed to be illusions, built not of reality, but of doubt. When you step through them once, they crumble forever. That is how progress feels, not sudden, but certain, not loud, but lasting. The greatest wealth a person can ever acquire is not money, nor fame, nor comfort. It is awareness. Awareness that every outcome begins in thought, that every limitation is self-imposed, and that every possibility lies waiting for the mind bold enough to claim it. Awareness turns responsibility from a burden into a gift. It is the realization that you no longer need to wait for the world to grant permission. You can begin where you are with what you have and move toward what you desire. The moment that awareness dawns, life ceases to be something that happens to you and becomes something you shape with deliberate intention. Each day presents a new choice to drift or to direct, to doubt or to believe, to delay or to act. The future is built from the decisions made in these ordinary moments. The successful person is simply one who has made a habit of choosing growth over comfort, purpose over distraction, and faith over fear. They are not always the most talented, but they are the most persistent. They are not always the most fortunate, but they are the most prepared. Their secret is simple. They never stop believing that the invisible force of thought, combined with action, would carry them where they intended to go. And because they believed it did. There is a remarkable peace that comes to the one who understands this truth. The noise of comparison fades. The anxiety of uncertainty diminishes. Life begins to feel ordered, meaningful, and alive with possibility. You begin to see that everything, the successes, the failures, the lessons, the blessings, was always leading you here, to this point of realization that you are the architect of your destiny. Once you accept this truth, hesitation becomes impossible. You begin to act boldly, think clearly, and move with purpose. You stop waiting for the right conditions because you finally understand that conditions become right the moment you decide they will. And so, the great secret that has been known by every self-made success throughout history is not a trick, nor a mystery, nor a privilege reserved for the few. It is the understanding that thought, when joined with faith and action, becomes creation. Guard your mind, direct your focus, and choose your goals with wisdom. Do this, and life itself will respond as faithfully as an echo answering a call. The invisible will become visible, the dream will become real, and the power that was once dormant within you will awaken, because it was never missing, only waiting to be claimed. And so, when all has been said and the words have settled, the message is clear and unwavering. The secret to success, to happiness, to wealth in all its forms, has never been hidden in the world outside. It has always lived quietly within the mind of each individual. The difference between the one who drifts and the one who rises lies in thought, in direction, and in the quiet discipline of belief. Every man and woman who has ever transformed their life began with a single decision to take control of their mind, to decide what they would think, and to hold that thought until the world reshaped itself around it. Look around you. Everything you can see began as an idea. Every invention, every fortune, every achievement started as a thought held long enough to take form. That same creative power flows through you at this very moment, waiting for command. You do not need permission nor luck nor perfect timing. You need only to decide, to choose your goal, believe in its possibility, and act daily in its direction. Life will always mirror the image you hold of it. Think small, and it will confine you. Think greatly, and it will expand to meet you. The truth is both simple and profound. We become what we think about. When we fix our minds upon a worthy ideal, guard it with faith, and act with purpose, we awaken a force that no obstacle can defeat. The road will not always be smooth, but it will always be yours. Every setback will teach, every delay will refine, and every victory will strengthen your conviction. So let this be your moment of awakening, the point where you stop drifting and begin steering. Choose your destination. Fill your mind with images of success, gratitude, and abundance. Refuse to dwell on fear or limitation. You are the master of your fate because you are the captain of your thoughts. From this day forward, walk with confidence in the quiet knowledge that the power which built worlds, which shaped empires, which made millionaires out of dreamers, lives now in you, and is waiting only for your command.